By now I'm sure you've all heard of A Christmas Story. By now I'm sure you're all sick of A Christmas Story. Every Saturnalia loops for 24 hours on Ted Turner's goddamn networks. And there's only so many times we can watch that stupid kid drop the stupid bolts in the stupid snow and say, "Ah, fudge," like it's the first minute of a YouTube video. But did you know that there was a sequel to A Christmas Story? And no, not the sequel, and not the actual sequel, and... oh, heck, how many of these were there? Welcome to the Parker Family Cinematic Universe. But today, I'd like to focus on the film that I consider to be one of the most American entries in cinema, and one that I think surpasses A Christmas Story. Ollie Hopnoodle's Haven of Bliss. That is the actual name of an actual movie that actually exists in the shared hallucination we call reality. Believe it or not, I didn't watch A Christmas Story until I was 9 years old. That was around 1997, when TNT started doing its annual marathon. My introduction to the antics of the Parker family was through Ollie Hopnoodle, which aired on the Disney Channel throughout the early 90s. Well, to be honest, I watched a videotaped recording of it, because back then we would pop a blank tape in the VCR and record stuff off the TV. And then it was just yours. You could just watch it whenever.
Fuck you, Fashy, I got VHS.
I'm smoking old butts from the ashtray.
Where did this whole Parker family franchise originate? Were they real people? Kinda. All these movies are based on the writings of American humorist and radio host Gene Shepard. Before men had podcasts, they had radio shows. Modulated electromagnetic frequencies would blast across the atmosphere like charging Valkyries, thundering, delivering to the awaiting listeners all the totally important things you had to say, you smart boy you. Starting in the 50s, Shepard became renowned for his humorous ruminations of his Midwestern childhood and his military service. He didn't consider himself a writer, but he was eventually convinced that he should adapt his radio shows into printed stories. BTW, one of those early supporters, was poet and pirate lookalike Shel Silverstein. I just thought that was neat. In 1964, the stories began appearing in the prestigious American publication, Playboy. There really is no institution more American than the symbiosis of sleaze and disenfranchised scholars. In 1966, the stories were collected into Shepard's first book, In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. The title alone should give you an idea of what kind of semi-folksy, semi-cynical flavor of humor we're dealing with. His stories are described as fiction based on real experiences, doused in nostalgia without the rose-tinted glasses. Are amber-tinted glasses okay? These are free from the 80s, very expensive. His next book would publish in 1971 as Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories, and that is another title of a thing that actually exists. And one of the stories was titled Ollie Hopnoodle's Haven of Bliss, but we'll get back to that in a moment. It's important to note that Shepard had numerous stints on television, most notably Gene Shepard's America on WGBH in the early 70s, but ultimately he decided to stick with screenwriting. Thus, he penned his first screen treatment, The Phantom of the Open Hearth, which premiered in 1976 on the PBS anthology series Visions. Now that's an obscure show. He followed up with 1982's The Great American 4th of July and Other Disasters, produced for the PBS series American Playhouse. Then he took a crack at a feature film with A Christmas Story. It was a modest success, with lukewarm reviews, but it has since become a tradition that has embedded itself in the tender flesh of the holiday season. And you know that I watch it at least once every Christmas because tradition dictates that I do. After one more TV film, 1985's The Star-Crossed Romance of Josephine Kosnowski, Shepard decided to step away from the small screen and focus on the silver screen. That's where the real money was. Unless, of course, some crazy production company wanted to pay the king's ransom for another TV movie.
Rise and shine!
Stop that!
A Christmas Story saw belated success on home video, so WGBH wanted to take advantage of that Parker family motion. But the public broadcasting system didn't have the Hollywood budget to afford Shepard, so they brought in another little scrappy production company. Yep, House of Mouse got involved. And Shepard agreed to the contract under one tiny stipulation. Disney would, quote, have nothing to do with the production. And that's why this is the Disney movie that feels the least like a Disney movie. Aside from, like, Mars Needs Moms or some bullshit like that. Dick Bartlett was brought on to direct. He'd worked on other American Playhouse and Visions productions, including Phantom of the Open Hearth. So, what is this movie?
Here's to Ollie Hopnoodle's haven of bliss.
Ollie Hopnoodle can be broken down into 3 plots, like different stages of the hero's journey. Part 1, Man vs. Refrigerator. Part 2, The Chronicles of Fuzzhead. Part 3, The Pilgrim's Progress Across Rural Michigan. So I recently watched this film for the first time in 3 decades, and I was surprised that it starts with clips from Fritz Lang's Metropolis. I did not realize that till now. Sorry, I didn't recognize the reference to German silent cinema when I was 7. I was in a French New Wave kick at the time. Duh. The juxtaposition of exploited workers in a dystopian future, set to a fucked up version of Snow White's High Ho, sets the attitude of this film. This is a celebration and condemnation of the American work ethic. You'll see what I mean. We are then introduced to the main cast like it's a TV sitcom. Same family from A Christmas Story, but different actors. You got Lieutenant Hunter from Hill Street Blues, Naomi from Mama's Family, Quinn Mallory from Sliders, and Randy. Gene Shepard himself narrates the movie, just like he does in all of these movies. It's the one constant. The Parker family is waking up at 4 a.m. in an effort to hit the road before the traffic. This is where the printed story also starts, but the movie detours and takes us back 2 weeks prior. Ralph and his friends, Schwartz and Flick, who you might remember from that frozen tongue scene in The Christmas Story, eagerly await their work papers. They're the ripe old age of 15 and can legally get a job. But this means that Ralph will miss out on the annual family vacation to Clear Lake. But hard work is a noble cause. Surely he won't regret it.
My education in life had truly begun.
And their boss is played by Gene Shepard, who is serving in that fake beard.
Mr. Scott, he looked like a cross between Rasputin and the Wolfman.
Thus begins Ralph's first taste of drudgery.
I'm sending 3 more down.
Meanwhile, the family dog Fuzzhead goes missing, and the mom is not handling it well.
I can't go on any vacation until we find Fuzzhead.
This leads to the mom's quest to find their dog, and I love this drawing of Fuzzhead. Make this your PFP. After days of searching, they spot the little doggy in a Rolls Royce, and a car chase ensues. Oh hell yeah, the old man is Tokyo drifting. The family finds Fuzzhead in the care of this Zsa Zsa Gabor clone, who gives her back for $5.
One thing about the rich, they never miss a chance to add to the pile.
Of course, this means that Fuzzhead is spoiled rotten, but at least the family is reunited. Oh, and the 3 caballeros over here get canned. But Ralph lies to his parents and says that he quit so that he can join them at the lake. Nothing builds better family dynamics than lying out your ass. With the first 45 minutes out of the way, the movie feels like it actually begins. The Parkers load up and drive out, but not before the old man has to do some wacky thing to get the Chevy running. And they're on the road. From here, the movie becomes a series of vignettes that are far more relatable than the first half of the film. We've all probably been on a family vacation or a long car ride that seemingly has no end. Someone gets sick, the car has trouble, and sketchy gas stations are visited.
Oh, there's a huge, ferocious beast back there!
Hey, you must be talking about Luke.
And this scene has caused some controversy because the gas station attendant describes his dog as a Mears Hound.
Mears Hound? Never heard of Mears Hound. Oh, they bred up in Massachusetts. They go 300-400 pounds full grown. They're illegal in most states.
Apparently a lot of people grew up thinking that somewhere out there, backwoods gearheads were breeding monsters or dire wolves, but Mears Hounds are fictional. Just a hyperbole for the weird kind of things you see off the beaten path. Other vignettes include the picnic where Randy, unhappy with the lack of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, throws his salmon salad surprise in the road. And this is one of those episodes that seems a little too detail specific to be purely fictional. Shepard would not often admit to what was real and what was fake, aside from shooting his eye out with a BB gun, which really happened.
That incident of the BB gun is one of the few things that I can honestly say actually did happen to me in my writing.
But I have a feeling that his real-life younger brother actually threw a sandwich into traffic. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Then, the old man gets lost in a detour, circling the labyrinthian bowels of hell.
Beset on all sides by strange creatures, evil monsters, the lost mariner searches and searches in the Sargasso Sea of Life.
No comment, that scene fucking rules. Then comes my favorite part of the movie. The family stops at a roadside souvenir stand, and it is a total vibe. I can't tell you how many times I've been sucked into one of these slop-peddling mercantiles while on vacation. You just want a physical manifestation of your journey, some little tchotchke you can look at and remember where you were. But the uncanny sensation of surrounding yourself with the familiar unfamiliar that stems from traveling warps your perception of reality, and you burden yourself with weird, wacky objects that would otherwise have no meaning. A plastic frog, a pink flamingo. Whatever the hell this is. Ugh. The mom is drawn to a windmill, and this leads to the best edit in the whole movie.
Let's go, it's getting late. We aren't going to buy any junk today.
And yeah, that was inevitable. You just can't escape impulse purchases.
Oh, the urge to add beauty to one's life is irresistible.
They hit the road once more and are assaulted by chickens. Later, a bee gets in the car and causes chaos while, appropriate music plays. Although underrated how Ralph just hauls ass and ditches his family, leaving them to die. Look at him go! And finally, they arrive at the fabled land, Ollie Hopnoodle's haven of bliss. Ah, Valhalla, the eternal hunt. Rest and relaxation from the pains of everyday life. And then it rains for the next 2 weeks. The end.
What? Can I help?
Are you kidding?
I also read the story that this was based on, and for the most part, it's beat for beat, with just a few alterations, like Granny's cabin was new for the movie, and there's no mention of the many billboards littering the roadside. Well, not quite billboards since those hadn't been invented yet by Satan, but just large signboards posted along the road. Also, if you want to be meticulous, in the story, Haven of Bliss was the name of the cabin, rather than the entire campground. But who goes on the internet to be that scrupulous? The major change comes at the beginning. The original story starts at 4 a.m. the morning of the trip and doesn't go back in time to include Ralph's job or the adventures of Fuzzhead. In fact, Fuzzhead is absent from the story altogether. And that does make for a cleaner, faster narrative, but the audiobook clocks in at just over an hour. Too short for a feature film. Including Ralph's job in the movie is a great way to give our protagonist an emotional investment. He's no longer a child being dragged along for a family vacation, but a working man escaping the rat race, looking forward to some R&R, catching big mouth Billy Bass on the lake. That's the only species of fish I know. I've seen other reviewers criticize the Fuzzhead subplot, deeming it unnecessary filler, but I think it's very not unnecessary. Yeah, without Fuzzhead's disappearance, there's not much tension in the first half of the film. We have to be reminded that vacations are a fragile thing. If any component goes off the rails, the entire trip is cancelled. Missing dog? Dead relative? Sorry, can't go to Cape Canaveral when we got a stiff to bury. Also, the Fuzzhead saga gives something for the mom to do, and that's one of my biggest criticisms of A Christmas Story. The mom there just exists in the plot to progress the story arcs of the men of the family, but here, in Haven of Bliss, she has her own life, her own quest, her own circle of friends, which really fleshes the character out in a way we didn't see in the previous films. And finally, there is the final scene, which doesn't appear in the story. While bunking down for the night, Ralph asks his mom why the old man never calls him by his name. And you realize that, yeah, his dad hardly ever says his name.
It's Rat Trap himself.
Oh, well, congratulations, fool. Shoestring.
Granny stuff.
Hey, Cookie Cutter. Come on, Axel.
And the mom assures him that it's just the old man's way of showing affection. It's one of those family dynamics that you don't really question until years later. And that's the power of memory. Not just remembering what happened, but all the little minute details around the core memories that amplify their meaning. And that's why I think I enjoy Gene Shepard's work. He takes mundane details and electrifies them into overdrive. A trip across state lines becomes Ulysses sailing into Thebes. A junkyard dog becomes Skylaw, and a bumblebee becomes the dreaded Charybdis, threatening to kill everyone aboard. And so, years later, you look back at your dumb little souvenirs and remember why that vacation meant so much, and why those weird plebs you call a family have such relevance to your upbringing. But what was that about me calling this the most American film ever?
The road, the natural state of being for every American.
I was exaggerating, of course. Gotta get those clicks, suckers. But Ollie Hopnoodle does capture something that is core to the national identity that other films just don't get quite right. And that is that there is something unique about road trips in America. Yeah, of course, any country that has cars has long car rides. And other countries have personal time-off policies that make the United States look like the opening scene of Metropolis. Someone get me out of here, please. My address is... But road trips take on a different vibe here in the United States. Shepard says it best.
We are a nomadic people. It was Americans who created the mobile home, not Yugoslavians or Belgians. Americans. Travel to an American is what eating strudel is to a German. We are simply reaffirming our national heritage.
And it's true. So much of our national identity is tied to the concept of migration. Whether it's the influx of people coming to this land, or the colonizers expanding west along the plains. Now let's not forget, the American Revolution was largely motivated by the colonists' desire to invade the western continent, while England said it would be too costly. Manifest Destiny became a zealotry that fueled many migrations, and those were harrowing journeys fraught with genocide, war, starvation, cannibalism, and dysentery. The bloodshed of colonization became romanticized over the centuries, leading many generations to regard our history as brave pioneers and explorers. Sure, there were people here already, but they didn't have an anthem.
Home, home on the range.
In modern times, we have trains, highways, airways, intricate arteries that expand across the continent because we are a people that glorify the notion of motion. America is a big, dumb leviathan composed of bones of cultures that erased. It is vast and loud, fast food, rock and roll. The road trip to an American is a surrogate to those romanticized migrations. We load our family and our belongings into our wagon and set off for the unknown, to face whatever perils and glory await us in our promised land. And sure, there are already people there, but they don't have an anthem. There's one more aspect of this film I want to mention, and that is the major difference in style between Ollie Hopnoodle and A Christmas Story. These movies were made only a few years apart, and yet they feel like completely different universes. And I'm not talking about some multiverse crap. More like age difference. A Christmas Story follows a 9-year-old Ralphie, whereas Haven of Bliss follows a 15-year-old Ralph. So much of A Christmas Story takes place in Ralphie's daydreams because imagination is such a major component of a child's world. They don't understand a lot about the mechanics of life, and so they fill in the gaps with familiar tropes and themes. By the age of 15, Ralph is a bit wiser to the world. Remember, this is the kid who got screwed over by little orphan Annie. He's been through shit. He spends less time daydreaming and more time in a state of exaggeration, which is exactly how the mind of a teenager works. And this nightmare sequence really highlights what I'm talking about. That is fucking scary, and also very 80s. You never see anything like that in A Christmas Story, which is something that I admire about this film. The idyllic gloss of childhood is gone. The world here feels a lot grittier, sweatier, visceral. You can just smell those greasy fried eggs. Definitely the vast, lonely world of a teenager. I mean, it doesn't help that this was filmed in the vast, lonely world of northern Texas. There are so many shots that resonate with me for just how surreal they feel, especially the picnic at this water tower. You see a road with cars in the foreground, meaning life is continuing somewhere, but the family has stopped to rest at this nothing plot of land in sight of some distant colossus of an unknown civilization. Now this is absolutely what you'd call liminal space. You know, those spaces in between spaces that you're not really supposed to pay attention to. There's a lot of that in this film because those transitory areas are so present in our travels and really play an understated role in shaping our identity. Liminal spaces are mental souvenirs in their own right. So I think it's brilliant how this movie, even if accidentally, manifests the underlying isolation of the familiar unfamiliar. So which level of the backrooms do I get to buy a plastic frog?
The old man for 2 weeks was free.
With all that said, you'd think this was my favorite film of all time. Nah. Hardly cracks my top 100, but I still like it better than A Christmas Story. And don't get me wrong, I do like A Christmas Story, but it's not even my favorite holiday flick. If I had to choose only one movie to watch on Christmas, I'd probably go with The Grinch or Charlie Brown or Blast of Silence or Olive the Other Reindeer. I think Ollie Hopnoodle struck a chord with me as a child because I could relate to it. I'd been on long car rides, so I understood the humor, but looking back, there's definitely better comedies about the great family road trip, such as National Lampoon's Vacation, Little Miss Sunshine, and hell, even Mitchells vs. the Machines deserves some respect. And that kind of goes for Gene Shepard's work altogether. He was an early innovator of his style, but plenty of writers have improved upon it, such as David Sedaris and Bill Bryson, just off the top of my head. But that doesn't mean we can't give a little love to this obscure gem. I'm an obscure gem. Currently, the movie is found maybe on streaming and probably here on YouTube, so I'd recommend it for those of you who want a little more Christmas story without watching one of the inferior sequels, or that weird fucking movie with the Beyblades. No, seriously, one of the subplots of A Summer Story is fighting tops. It's so fucking random. Of course, if you want the authentic experience, you can dig up an old VHS copy and watch it whenever you want. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, because
We aren't going to buy any junk today.
Thanks for watching. This Ollie Hopnoodle review was one of the last videos I was working on before I went on hiatus. So hit like and subscribe and steal a car, why don't ya? Where did you go on your family vacation? Write it in the comments. I won't read it, I'm just harvesting your data to sell it. For money. Also, please help the channel grow by sharing this video with people who might appreciate it. Or send it to your enemies to punish them. Either way. Keep watching and stay tuned.